Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to our post Secrets of the 1% chat show. First of all, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, or however you celebrate. We certainly hope you're there with family and relaxing and that you had a good day and that you're really just reveling in your family time. And we couldn't think of a better topic to talk about with all of your family there than kids and college education. So, as you have just seen on this episode of Secrets of the 1%, this is about investment choices for college savings accounts. And so, let's bring in our expert, the woman with all of the answers, Amelia Thomas, who is the managing partner of Empire Capital Ventures. Hey, Amelia.
Hey, Renee, how are you?
I'm good. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. I hope you were enjoying yourself. Did you have a nice time?
I did. Christmas is always a great time because it's really the only time of the year I get to see majority of the family. So I'm very excited to be celebrating Christmas today.
I love that. That's so awesome. All right, well, then let's just dive into this. First of all, we started by saying on this particular episode that parents routinely underestimate the cost of college for their kids. That is actually terrifying, isn't it?
It is, considering that college has been increasing faster than inflation and therefore faster than the cost of living adjustments that you may be receiving from work. It is even more terrifying to think that, hey, not only are we underprepared, but we are grossly underprepared to the point where
Mhm.
we feel as though we need to not put so much money away for retirement to help our kids go to college. So hopefully we'll get into that a little bit more today. But yes, it is absolutely terrifying, the cost of college today. And, we're just not prepared for it.
Yeah, and I think also when we look at this, we want to how can I put this? We don't want to place an undue burden on the parents or the kids. And that's a whole idea behind planning because if you don't do some planning now, your child is going to end up having to take out a bunch of loans. Hopefully, they'll be able to get some grants or something like that. But we're trying not to saddle our kids with a whole bunch of debt as they're heading out the door. So, one of the ways to do that is through savings through these college savings accounts. And you start by talking about 529 plans or 529 plans. Tell me a little bit about those.
Yeah, so a 529 plan is the most common way to save for college today. A 529 plan consists of two types of plans. You have a prepaid option, then you have an option where you're paying into it over time. And that prepaid option is the one that many states offer or they used to offer. And
Yeah.
so when they used to offer these plans, within their various states, they're basically taking on the performance and the investment risk on your behalf. But many of those states got in trouble with that type of plan in 2008, 2009. So many states have discontinued theirs. Although there are a few states who do still offer that type of plan. The most common plan is really the most common thing that you see even in your workplace with your 401k now. Notice how many companies have gotten rid of their pension plans and they only have the 401k plan because they want to put the performance and the investment risk back on the employee. So the same thing is happening with the college savings plans. These states
Mhm.
no longer want to carry that risk, so they're putting it back on the parents in terms of the investment performance. So with the current 529 plan, you are now able to put in a certain dollar amount per year, or you can put in lump sum up to 5 years, an amount that you want to be invested. And then you have different investment options in terms of various mutual funds, and you can choose between different types of mutual funds. Um, and you also have what's known as target date retirement or target date funds. So, for example, if you're going to start putting money in when that kid is like 1 years old, by the time they're
Mhm.
18, you would have put in money consistently. But as they got older, that account grew more conservative. So it was more aggressive at the beginning because guess what? A kid got 18 years before they need to use this money.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and so it's much more aggressive. That way, if there's down swings and dips and turns in the market, you have time to overcome those downfalls versus when someone is within 3 years of going to college. You don't have time to overcome a disastrous year in the market. You just don't.
Mhm.
So the account grows more conservative as that kid ages. And
Mhm.
so, again, the various states and investment companies are now putting that performance back on the parents. They don't want to be responsible for it. And that is the most common type of 529 that you see in the marketplace today.
I have a question, and I'm not sure if this is something that you know off the top of your head, but somebody out there might be thinking of this. What if you save for 18 years and your child says, "I don't want to go to college"? What happens to your money?
Believe it or not, that's not a uncommon question. We see
Mm.
either the kid doesn't want to go to college, or the kid got all A's and they got a full ride, and therefore the money is not needed. So there's a couple of things. Number one, if the kid decides that they don't want to go to college, then the parents still is the owner of that particular account, so they can take the money out of the account. When they take the money out of the account, you'll just be subject to a penalty on the investment performance.
Mhm.
For parents whose kid got scholarships, right, and they want to, they don't know what to do with all this money that they've been saving over the years, you can do one or two things. You can also take the money out if you like, just pay a 10% penalty or tax on the earnings. You can also leave that money in, and you can allow it for grad school tuition. Maybe that kid wants to go to medical school. Maybe it's not going to be fully
Mm.
covered. You could play for graduate school tuition expenses and fees. You can
Mhm.
also pass this account down to a sibling. So maybe one sibling got a full ride, or one sibling doesn't want to go to school, but there's another sibling coming right behind them. You can also pass it down to a sibling who can then use that money as well. So those are the more common options. Last but not least, I would be remiss if I did not add that actually just within the last year or so, they actually made a provision where parents can now use $529 to pay for primary and secondary education. So, for
Oh,
example,
really?
if you wanted to send your kids off to private school when they're in the fifth grade, or boarding school when they're in the eighth grade, you can now use 529 funds to pay for those things as well.
Okay. All right. Wow. And another question again, I'm hope I'm not going too far out of your realm of expertise, but I know you're the lady with all the answers, so I'm going to spring it on you anyway. But let's just say that uh, you know what? I totally forgot what I was going to say. Sorry, Amelia. All right, we're going to go. That
You had
happens,
too
doesn't it?
much
Right?
ham today, Renee.
I'm in the Christmas spirit, so I totally forgot what I was going to say. Well, so the 529 though, as someone who has participated in this, or 529, I the bit of experience that I had that I would tell people watching is that you can't start saving too early, because the cost of the tuition goes up. You end up, I feel like we started saving too late for our daughter. And so I would really just say, if you have an opportunity to start saving when the child is very young, you know?
Absolutely. It's never too early to start. Just how you hear them talking about retiring, for your jobs, and how you need to plan early. The same thing needs to happen when you have young kids that are going to college in
Mhm.
18 years. You know this day is coming, and guess what? All of your other expenses and the rest of life continues to happen. So you really cannot wait until they are 12, 13, 15 years old to start saving. Now,
Mhm.
is it better to start at any point? Absolutely. But if you really want to be prepared, it's better to start when they're young. When they're young, I wish I had done the calculation before the interview tonight, but just $50 a month over 18 years can probably amass you enough to pay for at least 2 years of college. And we're just talking
Mhm.
about $50 a month, over 18 years, maybe more. It might be enough to cover, the entire 4 years, depending on if you're at a public or a private school. So,
Mhm.
do not underestimate time. I think that is the point that I want to drive home today. Do not underestimate time. Time matters when you're growing your money. Okay.
Absolutely.
Same if you are fresh out of school, your first job, that $50 a month into that 401k plan goes a long way when you got to
Mhm.
work for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
So time matters. And when you're younger, time is actually more important than the amount that you put into that account.
You
Believe it or
Oh
not,
yeah,
time is more
yeah.
important.
You are so right about time, and you mentioned 401k, and I'm like, I remember what I was going to say. Okay, so here it is, Amelia. People sometimes, if you don't have savings for college, let's say you haven't saved over this period of time for your child, the question is sort of people will come up and say, well, maybe I could just withdraw from my 401k to pay for college. I've always heard that's a bad option.
Mhm.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I personally and professionally believe that that is the last option you should pursue
Mm,
when you want to help your kid pay for college. And the
yeah,
reason why is because that kid has more life than you do. They have more working years than you do. They can take
yeah.
out those loans and pay those loans back. They might have to be aggressive on their payback if they want to pay it off quicker, but they have that option. You, as the parent, do not have the option to take out a loan
Mhm.
to live on during retirement. So, whatever money you have left in that retirement account, again, goes back to time. You can't grow that amount of money over that course of 4 years that you're going to spend putting your kid in college. But guess
Yep.
what? You're now at retirement age. It's time for you to
Mhm.
retire. It's time for you to, reduce your hours at work. You might get sick, have an illness. You might be forced to retire early, and you have
Mhm.
no other options but what you have saved.
Yeah.
And considering that majority of adult Americans are already underutilizing their 401ks. They're not saving enough. We're woefully unprepared for retirement. That is a disastrous
Yeah.
decision to decide to take 30, 40, $50,000 out of your retirement account to put your kid in college when they can take out loans to pay for college and then you can assist with the payoff, versus you not having enough money to retire when you're within 10 years. So yes, it is a terrible decision. And if someone is going to make the decision to do that, I would highly encourage them to work with a financial advisor, to run those numbers for them and build a plan around how to
Mhm.
accomplish that, and also running some what if scenarios or worst case scenarios so they can truly understand, like, hey, am I one illness away from being destitute if I take this money out of this
Wow.
account? or,
Yeah.
or am I one decision away from having to refinance my mortgage for another 30 years and I won't have it paid off by the time I
Ooh.
pass because I made this one decision. So there are very large financial ramifications when you decide to do that, and that is not a decision that
Mm.
most parents are equipped to make alone.
You know what? I hesitated to ask that, but I'm really, really glad that you answered that and you're so emphatic about that because everything you said, it makes perfect sense. Here you are at 50, hoping to retire. Your child might be 20, 19, 18, and they have all of this time ahead of them. It really just financially doesn't really make good sense. So I'm really glad you touched on that. Amelia, thank you so much. I love this episode because been here, done that, saved money, put a kid through college. And, it's quite the accomplishment. I think when she graduated, I was like, woo, for us too. So, yes. Amelia, again, thank you so much for your time, for your information that you've shared with us through this series, Secrets of the 1%, in this particular episode, Investment Choices for College Savings Accounts. Next week, we're going to be talking about Social Security as we wrap up Secrets of the 1%. Such an amazing series. Amelia, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your holiday, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Renee. You do the
Uh,
same.
okay, bye. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Bye bye.